What's up, y'all? My name is Prince, and I'm an urban acolyte. I didn't really want to do a straight up review of the Captain Marvel movie, so I decided to make a list of the top 5 things that I liked about Captain Marvel. So I'm going to start out by saying that I really liked the movie. I saw it on opening night, and I went back to see it on Saturday morning. I didn't go in with any kind of expectations, and I walked away really impressed by what I saw. So Captain Marvel, it's a different type of movie from the MCU, and I'm looking forward to seeing how Carol blends in with the rest of the heroes when we see her in Avengers Endgame very soon. But anyway, let's jump into my list. The top 5 things that I liked about Captain Marvel. So the first thing on my list is the introduction of the Kree-Skrull War. Now, I don't have a big background or years of history reading Marvel comic books. I've had the opportunity to read some of these really old Spider-Man, Avengers, and X-Men books from before I was born because my stepdad was friends with a comic book collector. And this was back in 1987. So I guess even his new comic books would be like over 30 years old by now. But that's a tangential way of me saying, look, I didn't grow up reading a lot of comic books. But the stuff that I did read, it was really old. And I know that the Kree and the Skrulls are into a little bit of everything, and those races have stories that bleed into the Avengers, the X-Men, and the Fantastic Four series. The Kree have already been part of the story in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and on the Inhumans, which I think folks at the MCU are trying to forget. But anyway, after the most recent season of the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and with Captain Marvel pulling that stuff into the movies, I think that's a bigger story that we could see play out in the next phase of the MCU, or possibly in phase 5 later on down the line. But do you think we'll get into a secret invasion scenario where you have a different group of Skrulls invading Earth that'll make a future team of Avengers team up with like the Fantastic Four? Now, the second thing on my list is that Captain Marvel already has her powers at the start of the movie. Now, although this is an origin movie, it starts at an interesting place. Carol has no memory except for the identity that the Kree have given her. She thinks she's a pink-skinned Kree named Veers, who was given her photon blast by the Supreme Intelligence, and, well, what has been given can be taken away. So part of Carol's personal quest is to discover who she really is and answer these lingering questions that she has. Why am I such a bad soldier? Why can't I be under control like everyone else? Who is this person I see when I speak with the Supreme Intelligence? So this movie becomes about Carol unlocking her powers as she's learning to control them, and the key to learning all of that is in discovering who she really is. Now this takes me into the third thing on my list, and that would be the role of the mentors. See, part of the hero's journey is finding an old wise person. It's finding a mentor. The mentor is someone who had already completed their journey, or in some cases is farther along on their personal journey. They bestow their boon to the hero of the story. Veers sees Yon-Rogg and the Supreme Intelligence as her mentors at the start of the film. This later changes, especially once she learns the truth about her identity and how she came to be. Her mentors become her oppressors, who literally place her in the belly of the beast, which contributes to her full awakening. So those mentors, Yon-Rogg and the Supreme Intelligence, they only seek to control and manipulate her to serve their ends. Carol crashes to Earth where she meets Nick Fury. Nick is the example of the mentor who is also on his hero's journey. He's not quite the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. with the eye patch and cool as a cucumber here. Nick is more like a peer, but he bestows the boon of humanity on Carol. He tells her that she's impulsive and that she's operating based on feel instead of logic and protocol like the Kree do under their orders from the Supreme Intelligence. I mean, just pay attention to their dialogue. Veers is really cold. She's very gung-ho about the virtues of the Kree race, and she's very sure about the Skrulls needing to be wiped out from the face of the universe. With Nick, she slowly starts to open up. She starts to smile, laugh, and joke. She receives reassurance that these qualities looked down upon by the Kree are actually good qualities to possess. And speaking of the role of mentors, an equally important part of Carol's awakening is the role of sisterhood. And this is tied with the third thing on my list. See, I wanted to put Mar-Vell as a mentor because I feel like she was Carol's mentor before Carol gets her powers. In Carol's comic book origin, she does receive her powers from Mar-Vell, but here, it's because of Mar-Vell, who was a woman in this movie. Mar-Vell is doing this work, experimenting on the Tesseract in order to save a group of Skrulls and in the Kree-Skrull War. Carol and Maria Rambeau are basically on the shelf as Air Force pilots, but Mar-Vell, she gives them a sense of self-importance by making them part of her mission as test pilots with Project Pegasus. Carol didn't really understand any of that past until she connects with her friend, Maria Rambeau. Maria's daughter, Monica Rambeau, is the real catalyst that moves this sisterhood story forward. Monica is so persistent in her Auntie Carol remembering who she was. She's the one preserving the past. She's the one who has always seen Carol as the hero. Now, I need to note that Monica Rambeau is the original female Captain Marvel from the 1980s, back when Carol was still going by the name Miss Marvel in the comic books. Monica drops a lot of lines that she wants to follow in Carol's footsteps as a superhero, so that eventually it sets Carol up as the mentor who will later be the giver of boons for Monica Rambeau when she becomes a hero. We hope. I wanted to talk about the role of black women and how it helps Carol to awaken, but Nick Fury also played a part in that awakening. And I'm going to think about if I have enough to say on that topic, because it could be its own video, to be honest. But I really liked how Carol basically runs into Nick and she has to go down to the bayou to find Maria and Monica to provide this healing for her soul. There's that whole breakdown to break through that she experienced, and it's really moving. Okay, the last thing on my list of the top 5 things that I liked about Captain Marvel is that it's really good at telling the hero's journey from the point of view of a woman. It's the heroine's journey. Carol starts out as Veers, and it's like, well, here she is. She's got powers that she's trying to control. She can beat the crap out of Skrulls, and she rips a hole in the Skrull ship. She's already arrived. I mean, to quote some of the people who only look at the surface, you might be tempted to say that she's overpowered. I mean, what's her struggle when she can already beat the crap out of everybody at the start of the movie? But her struggle is internal. Carol has no identity. She didn't know who she was. She only knows who she was told to be. Carol slowly discovers that she was this girl who always falls down. She was always told no. She was always told to stop or to quit. You can't do this because you're a girl. You're gonna hurt yourself. You're too weak. Carol, you're just not meant for this. I mean, it's called a cockpit for a reason. Her mission of self-discovery becomes her quest of self-mastery. Think about how she is at the start of the story. She is Veers. She had powers, but she didn't have control over her powers or her emotions. Yanrog is the person telling her who she is and how she ought to be. And he reminds her that his blue blood flows through her veins. Veer's entire identity is affirmed by a man and by the Supreme Intelligence, which is an AI with no sexual identity. Now, I'm saying all of this because it's important to the hero's journey when it comes to the female hero. She has to become like a man. Carol's journey in the movie starts in the middle of that process. Her call to adventure starts when she becomes an Air Force pilot and she accepts to work with Mar-Vell on Project Pegasus. Well, we'll start it from that point for the sake of this argument. In the big scheme of things, her call to adventure began much earlier. So when she absorbs the energy from the Tesseract engine, she passes out and she's taken by Yanrog. That begins her journey where she casts off her feminine side to become like a man. Now, I'm not saying that she literally becomes a man. I mean that metaphorically. Read the heroine's journey and it'll all make sense. So Carol's quest from that point on becomes about rebelling against her identity as Veers and everything that the Kree taught her over the last 6 years. She has to re-embrace her humanity. She had to literally shake off the shackles in the form of the inhibitor that was on the back of her neck. At that point, she can remember. She can look at all the times she fell or she was told that she's weak. I mean, even the Supreme Intelligence tries to reinforce what other people have told her, but it's at that point that she grasps her feminine side. She awakens her power. She's wild and free. And it's funny that when she becomes a woman again, which is at the other end of the heroine's journey, it's then that she's able to go into her binary state. Now, I'm not trying to make this about confirming the gender binary or anything like that. So don't twist my words into something that they are clearly not. I'm just saying that she's had to experience using her abilities under an inhibited state where she's taught by a dude and an AI with no gender. And when she remembers the true face of Mar-Vell and she accepts her sister and her play niece back into her life, when she can recall being a woman with a woman as a mentor, a woman as a sister, and a young woman as her mentee, then she can also fully allow her full femininity to come forward. And she becomes this character, binary, who has experienced both sides and has now achieved self-mastery. So yeah, y'all, Captain Marvel was pretty deep if you look beneath the surface. I really enjoyed this movie once I had time to think about what I had actually seen on the screen. Now, I'm going to think about if I want to do a movie on the role of the black supporting characters. I considered a video about the Tesseract because people in my theater had a lot of questions about the Tesseract's timeline. I actually came home after my second viewing of Captain Marvel and I watched Captain America, the first movie, and the first Avengers movie instead of writing my review about Captain Marvel. So I really feel like I got Tesseract down. But also, I have another top 5 list about things I'm excited to see in future Captain Marvel movies. But that's it for this list. What are some of the top things you liked about the movie? If you like this video, hey, hit that like button and share it with your friends. If you have something to share with the Urban Acolyte community, post it down below in the comments, and I'll be checking back to see what you have to say. If you haven't subscribed already, go ahead and click on that subscribe button so that you can take your first steps towards becoming an Urban Acolyte. Embark on the journey of becoming the hero of your own story and become a force for change in your community. Hey, make sure to enable notifications and follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and on the gram so you'll know when I'm going live with Star Wars chats or posting new stuff to the channel. And if you're interested in getting deeper into the real-life superhero side of this, hey, hit that link so you can get your free Darth Maul training manual today. But that's all I got for this video, so thanks for watching. Y'all keep on breathing, and may the force of others be with you, always.